Good morning, children. Today we are going to do Unit 1 Be Reading. Every success story is also a story of great failures. Before we start, we'll learn about the author Shiv Khera. Shiv Khera is an Indian author of self help books and activist. While working in the United States, he was inspired by a lecture delivered by Norman Vincent Peale and followed his motivational teachings. Khera has written several books, including You Can Win. His mission is to ensure freedom through education and justice. He was born in a business family which used to have coal mines in Kendua in Dhanbad district in India. Soon after the nationalization of coal mines by the Indian government, he had to search for his own living. In his early years, he worked as a car washer, a life insurance agent, and a franchisee operator. Later, he became a motivational speaker. You can see here itself that his success was followed by great number of failures. So to begin with, we are going to learn about a great personality, Abraham Lincoln. It is said that failure is the highway to success. Tom Watson Sr. said, if you want to succeed, double your failure rate. When children try to walk for the first time, he falls again and again, but he doesn't stop. Whenever he falls, he tries to get up, and at last he succeeds in walking. The same way, we see that the great people have never stopped their efforts. Now we shall learn about Abraham Lincoln. He started his business at the age of 21, but he failed. He contested in the legislative race at the age of 22, but he was defeated. Again, he failed in the business when he was 27. He contested for a congressional race at the age of 34, but he lost. He lost again in the senatorial race when he was 45 and again when he was 49 years old. At last, at the age of 52, he was elected as the President of United States. And this was none but Abraham Lincoln. So children, here we see that despite great number of failures, Lincoln succeeded at the end. For him, the defeat was not a detour and not a dead end. Detour here means he did not have to stop his work. He continued his efforts despite his many failures, and it did not make him stop at any stage. Here we have another great person, Lee D. Forrest. In 1913, he invented Triodes tube, for which he was charged by the district attorney for using fraudulent means and misleading the people into buying stocks of his company by saying that he could transmit human voice across Atlantic. He was greatly humiliated by the public. But this invention of his led to many more modern inventions. We have another example of Wright brothers. On December 10, 1903, a New York Times editorial questioned the wisdom of the Wright brothers who invented a machine that would fly. But just a week later, at Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers were successfully able to fly their first mission, the flying machine. They took their first famous flight. Here we have Colonel Sanders at the age of 65 with a bet up car and $100 check from the Social Security. He realized that he had to do something. He remembered his mother's recipe and went out selling. He had to knock at least 1,000 doors before he could get the first order, but he didn't quit his effort. Many of us quit our trials after making about 10 to 20 or about 100 trials. Then we would say we tried as hard as we could. And this is none but the KFC chain of restaurants all over the world. As a young cartoonist, Walt Disney made many rejections from newspaper editors. He was a great cartoonist, but initial stage when he went with his cartoons to many of the newspapers, he was rejected. But one day, a minister at a church hired him to draw cartoons. Here, minister means a priest in a church. So he was working out in a small mouse infested shed near the church. Infested means the shed which is full of mice. There, a small mouse inspired him so much that he started drawing cartoons on it. And later, the same mouse became the famous Mickey Mouse. Here we see Thomas Edison. Thomas Alva Edison. One day, a partially deaf 4-year-old kid came home with a note from his teacher which said, "Your Tommy is too stupid to learn. Get him out of the school." His mother answered, "My Tommy is not stupid to learn. I'll teach him myself." And the same Tommy grew up to be the great Thomas Edison, who had only 3 months of formal schooling as he was partially deaf. In 1914, at the age of 67, he lost the factory worth a few $1 million and had very little insurance. He saw his lifetime efforts go up in smoke. He said, "There is a great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burnt. Thank God. We can start anew." He says, just 3 weeks later, he invented the phonograph. What an attitude! So, children, we see that the failures of some more successful people here. The Thomas Edison failed about 10,000 times while he was working on a light bulb. He wanted to make it glow, and at last he was successful. In the same way, Henry Ford was broke at the age of 40. When he introduced his first car, he forgot to put his reverse gear. But later he did not stop. He continued and he became the greatest seller of cars. Lee Iacocca was fired by Henry Ford at the age of 54. Young Beethoven was told that he had no talent for music at all, but the same person gave some of the best music to the world. By this, children, we know that the setbacks are inevitable in life. They act as a driving force and teach us humility. While in grief, we find courage and faith to overcome the setbacks. We must learn to become the victors but not victims. Fear and doubt short circuit the mind. So we should not have any kind of fear in our mind or any doubt. We will not be able to succeed with these two elements. After every setback, we learn from our experience and will be able to turn a stumbling block to a stepping stone. Stumbling block is a thing which stops our further work. So this will be acting as a stepping stone. So stumbling block like failures are the stumbling blocks which always is a stepping stone for our success. The motivation to succeed comes from the burning desire to achieve a purpose. Napoleon Hill says, "Whatever the mind of a man can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." Here, conceive means what it can think, what it gives birth to, the thoughts that come into our mind. So, whatever we think of it, we should believe in it. And then the mind can achieve what you think. A young man asked Socrates the secret of success. Socrates asked him to meet him near the river next morning. When they met, he walked along with the man to the river, went into the river, and they walked till the water reached their neck. Suddenly, he took the young man by surprise and ducked him into the water. The boy struggled a lot to get out of the water, But Socrates was strong enough and kept him there till he started turning blue. Then suddenly he pulled his head out of the water. At the very first moment, the young boy, with a gasp, took a huge breath. At that moment, he asked the boy, "What was the thing you needed when you were in water?" The boy immediately replied, "Air." And Socrates said, "That is the secret to success." So, children, what do we learn here? That a burning desire is the starting point for all accomplishments. To get success, you must have a burning desire, which will make you reach your goal. That's all for today. Thank you.